What's up guys, Nathan here, and today I'm going to teach you how to make $5,000 a month playing poker. So I've made a lot of videos before, how to make $50 a day playing poker, how to make $20 a day, stuff like that, low amounts. And I get a lot of comments and feedback. People are saying, hey, teach me how to make the real money in this game. I'm not living in a hut in Africa. I need to make some big bucks to be able to pay these bills. So today we're going to get into it. This is going to be at a little bit higher stakes than I normally talk about on this channel. I'm going to walk you guys through a couple hand examples. It's going to come from a $100 buy-in cash game online. And I'm going to teach you specifically how to make $5,000 a month on average playing poker. So number one, like I said, you're going to have to play in some decent stakes games. You can't be playing the, the $2, the $5 games online, whether that's cash games or tournaments. You're going to have to be playing some decent stakes, of course, if you want to be able to make some decent money in poker. So I'm going to assume that you have moved up the stakes, that you understand the fundamental basic strategy of the game like I teach in my free poker cheat sheet, top link in the description below, and that you've moved up the limits a bit. Now, the second thing you're going to have to do if you want to consistently make $5,000 a month playing poker, you're going to have to know how to beat both the fish and the regulars. Now, those are the recreational players and the serious players that you're going to see day in and day out at the table. Both of these player types require two very different strategies in order to beat them at the most optimal highest win rate. And I'm going to walk you through that in today's video. We're going to talk about one hand first versus a recreational player, and the second hand is going to be a bluff versus a regular. So stick around to the end so that you get to see both strategies at play here. So once again, like I said, both of these hands are going to come from a 50-cent $1 cash game online. That's a $100 max buy-in. Now, if we're talking about making $5,000 a month, that would essentially mean 50 buy-ins in this game. So the reason why I chose this game is because I think the stakes are still low enough that somebody who's relatively decent, studies the game like yourself, watching videos like this, can with a little bit of practice learn to be a consistent winner in this game. And the other thing is, since it's a $100 buy-in, we do a little bit of math. We would need to make 50 buy-ins in this game in 1 month in order to make $5,000 a month. Now, 50 buy-ins, that's only a little over one buy-in a day. Not exactly impossible for somebody who takes the game seriously, plays regularly, and is at least a small winner in this game. All right, so let's jump into the first hand here. Like I said, this is going to be versus a recreational player. As I mentioned before, in order to have big-time success in poker, you need to be table selecting and finding the bad players. There's no other way around it. If you choose to play against players who are at your level or above, there's no way you're going to make any amount of money in poker consistently, because we make money in this game primarily by consistently playing with people who play worse than us. So we've got a prime example here. We've got 10 jack of diamonds in the small blind in a 6 max game, and it folds around to us. So what should we be doing in a spot like this? Well, the recreational player is going to be seat 2. He's already got a dead tell that he's a fun player. He doesn't have a full buy-in. This is one of the many direct tells of a recreational bad poker player. Doesn't top up his stack. So we should be opening, even though we're going to be out of position in this hand, we should be opening a very wide range versus this player. I talk about this in all of my poker books. You just want to get involved with these players as often as possible. If you've got any kind of reasonably decent hand, 10 jack of diamonds certainly passes the bar for a reasonably decent hand. So we raise it up 3 times the blind, and of course, our fishy friend here is going to make the call. Now, he's playing a 58, 22, 1. That is VPIP, PFR, and aggression factor. Those are HUD stats for those of you guys who play online poker. It basically just gives you an idea of what type of player you're up against. I will have links to all of that in the description below if you want to get these numbers on your screen. But basically, when I see a player with those kind of stats, that is 100% recreational player. So we know exactly who we're up against at this point. Let's go see a flop. All right, so the flop comes reasonable for us. We got the deuce, deuce, jack board. We got the backdoor diamonds with a top pair and an okay kicker. So the thing is, though, when we're playing against a guy who's playing 58% of his hands, we actually have a monster in this situation because we are massively ahead of the 58% range that this guy is on. He's got so much crazy nonsense that didn't even hit this board at all. It's an incredibly dry board. So there's really nothing else that we should even be thinking about here other than building a pot. If you've read my first book, Crushing the Micro Stakes, you'll know I'm all about fast play is the new slow play against the recreational players at the lower limits. You never ever want to be trapping or slow playing. If you want to win a big pot, you need to start building it. Now, in a situation like this, we don't actually want to bet like a huge amount on a board like this. That's why we actually down bet considerably here and only bet about third pot, because the board is just so dry. You know, we want to give him an opportunity to continue on with his pocket fours, his ace three, his whatever. You know, we want to keep all those hands in the middle because we know that we're well ahead of all those hands. There's really nothing to be fearful of on a board like this. We just want to string this player along or get him to do something silly like that. The recreational player decides to come in for a mini raise, essentially. What does that mean? Well, honestly, guys, versus recreational players, it can mean a wide range of stuff. It can be anything from a 2 to 8 high to ace king. It can mean a lot of different stuff. The bottom line is, with us with top pair, backdoor flush draw as well, it's just going to be an easy call here. We definitely don't want to be re-raising here and overplaying our hand. It's a perfect spot to just make the call and go see a turn. So the turn comes pretty good for us with the king of diamonds. It gives us 4 to our backdoor flush now. And I think that this is a spot where we definitely do just want to continue checking, which is exactly what we do. We don't want to reverse the course of the action here and lead out for a bet, because this is a spot where this player either has something huge or he has very little. So there's no point in us betting. It's much better to turn our hand into a bluff catcher at this point and just check it to him on this turn in order to realize our equity, keep all his bluffs in the middle, and get to a showdown. So he decides to pot it. Now, I believe I talked about this in last week's video. When recreational players start potting it, I actually am usually very, very happy because, again, as I talked about in last week's video, as we showed you, this almost always is the sign of a decent hand, but certainly not the nuts. It's a hand like top pair. It's a hand like, you know, pocket eights or something. It's basically, it's not a 2. It's not a pocket aces. It's something okay-ish, you know, but not the nuts. So we're happy to just make the call here with our diamond draw and our top pair still. We can still hit a full house potentially if somehow we are behind to a king, for example. So it's a perfect spot to just make a call here. Again, there's utterly no reason to raise here. It's not even on the agenda to even think about that. So we just happily make the call and go see a river. So the river comes very nicely for our hand with that beautiful 6 of diamonds. We hit the backdoor flush, and now the only question is, how do we extract the most money out of this recreational player? Well, we're going to follow a very similar train of thought to what we were just talking about on the turn, where we just want to allow this player to continue bluffing away at the pot. There's no reason to blast into him at this point, because all that's going to accomplish is fold out all his bluffs, which we don't want. We want to give him the opportunity to bluff. And it also gives him an opportunity to realize, hey, maybe my hand isn't good. I'm going to make a sick laydown with pocket eights or something like that. We want him to bet these hands, as he's probably going to do. Players usually like this like to overplay their hand, considering he's already gone for the big bluff in here. So we go for the check. And what does he decide to do? He decides to hit the pot button again. So guys, like I said on the turn, I actually love it when recreational players pot it into me at the lower stakes, because having played millions of hands at these stakes, I can tell you without a doubt, this is almost always a decent but not the nuts hand. It's a top pair. It's something like that we can clearly beat with our flush. So we're going to be shipping it all in the middle here for value, of course, versus this player. and he's going to snap it off, and he's going to show us the old king 3. Ship the pot to us. So now this hand, guys, is a perfect example of a hand where you're never going to get this value versus a decent thinking player, because decent thinking players, they don't even play king 3 offsuit. It's not like they're just folding pre-flop. So this hand is a perfect example, guys. If you want to make $5,000 a month, you have to have bad players like this at your poker table. All right, so let's jump into the next hand now, where we're going to play against one of those aforementioned decent thinking opponents. All right, so like I said, versus good regulars, which will be the majority of your opponents at stakes like this, you're going to have a different strategy. It's going to involve a lot more bluffing instead of value betting like we did in the last hand, because these players are not in there with bad hands. Typically, they're not stupid either. They understand when you shovel it on the river like that, especially over a pot-sized bet, that you have it basically all the time, and that they're king 3, a hand they're not even playing anyways, will never be good there. Basically, these are decent players who study the game like you do. They're not dumb, and we need to think on a higher level in order to beat these players. So in this hand, once again, we don't have, like, you know, pocket aces or anything like that, but we have a decent hand. Once again, this is 50 cent $1. We have a decent hand considering that we're in the cutoff. If we were in under the gun, middle position 1 there, I would not be playing this hand. But considering that it does fold to us, this hand, 9-8 offsuit, is typically going to be a standard open here for me. Now, there's a couple things that I want to point out in this hand. Number one, something I hope you guys already noticed is that this hand is deep stack. Both us, seat 8, who is going to be the main opponent in this hand, and seat 1 are all super deep stacked. In fact, we have almost 250 big blinds in front of us, and they both have us covered. I should mention there is seat 9 there as well, but that player is on a super short stack and plays no role in this hand, so I'm not going to even discuss that player. I just want to mention that the reason why I will open a hand like 9-8 offsuit like this is because of the deeper stacks, and this is another way. If you guys want to learn how to make 5K or more a month, you need to start understanding how to abuse players with deep stacks. It's exactly actually what we're going to do in this hand, so let's jump into it. So we come in for a standard raise once again. We down raise a little bit in this spot to 250 on when we're just looking to steal the blinds. We don't need to be making it 3x or 4x in a spot like this, because we're going to be opening a wide range just like this. So seat number 8 comes in for the 3-bet. Now this guy is a regular, you know, he's playing the typical 21-18-3, which is very tight and aggressive type stat. Once again, those are HUD stats. There'll be links to everything in the description below if you want to get those numbers on your screen. But the other crucial part of this hand is that seat number 1 is a recreational player. So I talked about this in my latest book, the Micro Stakes Playbook, that better players these days are understanding table dynamics better. And this player, seat 8, is going to know that we're going to be opening with a wide range in this spot in order to get in more hands versus seat 1, and therefore he can take it to the next level and 3-bet us with a wider range because he knows that we're on a weaker range. So we need to take it to the next level here and understand that he knows what we're thinking and we know what he's thinking. So we're going to take a hand like this and turn it into a 4-bet bluff on occasion. So seat number 1 actually does make the call here, and this actually makes me want to 4-bet bluff even more because we now have that dead money. Remember, seat 1's a recreational player, just like the guy in the previous hand. He's going to be playing like 50% of his hand, something crazy like that. So he's got all sorts of trash here, which means that we have more dead money to win with a 4-bet bluff here. Now, 9-8 is typically not the type of hand that I want to be 4-bet bluffing with a lot. It doesn't really block a lot of big value hands. But I just think this is a perfect spot to once in a while make a play at the pot. And it's exactly what we're going to decide to do here. So we're going to make it 4 times the 3-bet amount. Once again, we are deep stack. We want to make it more, give them a real reason to fold. Now, seat number 8 does in fact make the call. So what kind of hand will we put him on at this point? Well, the great thing about deep stacked is nobody wants to go broke pre-flop without aces, so you can actually get away with these 4-bet bluffs a lot more, and I'm probably going to make some more videos soon talking specifically about 4-bet bluffing in deep stack games and how profitable it is, because once again, most people are very afraid to put in the 5-bet here without aces. A lot of times they will even just call with pocket kings here. His hand also, but I think he can have a wide range at this point. I think he can definitely have hands like nines, tens, jacks, queens. Again, we're playing against a decent, intelligent opponent. He knows that we're deep stacked as well. He knows that if we do have the aces and he's got his pocket nines and he hits the 9 on the flop, he might win an enormous pot against us. Little does he know, we've got 9-8 offsuit, but this is the thinking in this situation here. I think this player could also have hands like ace-king, ace-queen, basically a reasonable range. I don't think he's going to be calling with pocket 4s or something too often, or a suited connector, but I do expect him to be in there with a reasonably wide range. So it folds back to the recreational player who makes the fold, and let's go see a flop. So the flop comes with a 9 deuce jack with 2 hearts. Now we've got middle pair, which is a decent hand, but we don't really expect to be ahead of his value range very often here. But this is a very good flop for us to bluff on for several reasons. The primary one being that his ace king and his ace queen absolutely hate this board. Let's always remember there's a lot more combinations of ace king and ace queen than there are of pocket kings, queens, jacks, tens, hands like that. What all this is to say is that I think his hand is going to be an ace king or an ace queen more often. So we are actually ahead of those two hands, actually, at this point. I just want us to understand that in this situation here. We're not actually going to be really betting for value here, but I want us to remember that, especially later on in the hand. So we decide to make a c-bet here. Once again, you just down bet here to 40% a pot, roughly as we go here. You could even go a little bit lower than that because the pot is already so bloated. I do think that we want to continue the aggression in a spot like this. I don't really want to go for a check call in a situation like this because once again, I'm not really playing my hand for value at this point. It's nice that we hit our middle pair, but you know, we do expect that this player still either has us crushed with a large overpair or top set once in a while, or he's still got a lot, quite a bit of equity with a hand like ace king or ace queen, but isn't happy about that flop. So he does decide to make the call, and that leads me more into that ace king, ace queen type of hand that probably isn't too happy, maybe a pocket tens, something like that. The bottom line is we're happy we didn't get raised here, and let's go see a turn. So the turn is really the turning point, sorry to use a bad pun, for me in this hand, and where I think the biggest value to be made here is. This is another one of those middling cards that ace king and ace queen do not want to see. This is also a spot where pocket aces and pocket kings are starting to ask, and pocket queens are starting to ask themselves, how expensive is this hand going to be? And remember, players at these stakes, as I've talked about before, they don't like to throw all their money in with just one pair. They like to only have the nuts. So even a hand as strong as queens, kings, or aces here, if we're to make another bet here, they're really starting to get uncomfortable. They're really starting to say, wow, this is going to be really expensive for me to see a showdown. And they're starting to put us on a hand like pocket jacks, a pocket nines. The fact that 10-8 just got there, if we were in with some kind of bluffy hand like we actually kind of do have. So I think that this is a perfect spot for all of these reasons to continue with the aggression. And of course, ace king and ace queen are certainly not happy at this point, and we're probably going to be able to get those hands to fold as well. So we do decide to make another bet. Once again, we can downsize it to a 30% or so of the pot. We certainly don't need to be blasting it. We want to just make it feel like we're roping him along here and that it's going to be extremely expensive. He's going to face a shove on the river with his pocket queens. And the beautiful thing about putting on a lot of pressure like this against these regulars at the lower stakes, especially when it's deep stacked, is that they're going to give up, which is what this player ends up doing in this hand at this point. And we ship the $100+ pot to us. Really what I wanted to show you guys in this hand specifically here is that you need to find ways like this to win, a 50 big blind pot like we just did there against a regular, to outplay him. We almost certainly did not have the best hand pre-flop, and we might have not even had the best hand after the flop here. He might have folded a better hand. like queens. It's definitely possible. I've seen it before. They show me the queens face up. And really what this means is you need to learn, like I said, how to outplay these players. Now, versus the recreational players, of course, you just need to hit value hands, get in as many pots as possible with them. You saw what happened in hand number 1. But basically, guys, this in a nutshell is how you can make $5,000 a month playing poker. I want to say that it's not going to be easy. You do need to be playing in reasonably high stakes games like this. You can't be playing in the $2 or the $5 games online. And you're going to face some more skilled opponents in these games. Not everyone's like, you know, a beginner who kind of doesn't know what's going on, like you'll see, you know, at the very lowest stakes online. But if you guys can learn how to consistently beat the recreational players, which is something you should have already learned to do at the lower stakes, and learn how to start making some plays at the good thinking regulars like this, that is going to be the key to your success. But as always, I want to know what you guys think, so make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you make $5,000 a month playing poker? Or maybe you make way more than that. Maybe you've never got past $500 a month. Wherever it is, let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments below. If you guys want to see more poker strategy videos like this, helping you guys beat the lower stakes games, I'm putting them out every single week, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and also shove all in on that like button below if you found this video helpful. Lastly, if you want to know my complete strategy for crushing small stakes games like this, make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. It's called Massive Profit at the Micros. And once again, that'll be the top link in the description below. And finally, I will leave a video that I made last week right here that I think will help you guys out further. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.